Welcome to Magnificat TV News, dedicated to bringing you the news of the Church. Today is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. Last Thursday was celebrated as Human Fraternity Day, promoted by the UN at the request of the Pope and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt. Cardinal Mueller has warned of the risks of trying to build a world without God in what is being called the Grand Reset after the global pandemic. The Focolare movement has a new president. She is Margaret Karam, a Palestinian from Israel, an expert in Judaism and dialogue with Islam. Human Fraternity Day was celebrated for the first time last Thursday. It was proposed by the UN at the request of the Pope and Egypt's Muslim leader.
On Thursday, Pope Francis took part together with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmed El-Tayeb, in the presentation of the Zayed Human Fraternity Awards. The first recipients were the Pontiff himself and the Imam in 2019.
This year, the awards went to the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres and a Moroccan immigrant activist in France, Latifa Ibn Siaten. They were awarded virtually. It was the UN that approved the celebration of Human Fraternity Day on this date.
On this occasion, the Pope made a speech in which he thanked the great Imam for his support and friendship. He praised him for having had the courage to sign the joint document that the two men sealed 2 years ago in Abu Dhabi. The Pope said that today there is no time for indifference. We cannot afford to wash our hands of each other, with distance, with contempt. Either we are brothers or everything falls apart. It is the frontier on which we have to build. It is the challenge of our century.
He also thanked other promoters of this meeting. Thanks to all of you for supporting fraternity. Because today fraternity is the new frontier of humanity. Either we are brothers and sisters or we destroy each other, he said.
We are brothers born of the same Father, with different cultures and traditions, but all brothers. And while we respect our different cultures and traditions, our different citizenships, we must build this fraternity, not by negotiating with it, Francis affirmed.
Fraternity means an outstretched hand. Fraternity means respect. Fraternity means listening with an open heart. Fraternity means firmness in one's convictions, because there is no true fraternity if one's own convictions are negotiated, the Holy Father assured.
The Great Reset is an experiment that will bring totalitarianism, says Cardinal Mueller, former prefect of the Doctrine of the Faith.
Cardinal Mueller, prefect emeritus of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, spoke about the current debate on the Great Reset, promoted by the World Economic Forum in Davos. They seek the absolute control of thought, word, and action of the entire population, the Cardinal said.
The German prelate said that two sides, speculative capitalism, the big tech giants of the West, and the communism of China, are today converging and merging into a unified capital socialism, producing a new colonialism.
The Great Reset is a World Economic Forum agenda that uses the pandemic crisis as an excuse for a fundamental reshaping of the way we humans live together on this earth.
What this reconstruction of our societies should look like can be seen in the forum's own video 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Among other things, it says, "You will have nothing and you will be happy. Whatever you want, you will rent, and it will be delivered to you with a drone." Alongside the abolition of private property, he also sees the end of Western values.
Cardinal Mueller warned that the aim of the collaboration between the big capitalist entities with China is the absolute control of thought, word, and action.
The Cardinal points to the importance of the digital world today and how it affects human life. He sees that a homogenized man is being created and that this man can be directed more easily.
The Prefect Emeritus of the Doctrine of the Faith noted that in the past there have been attempts to recreate man and reinvent the world. These attempts have always turned into totalitarian movements. Whenever man has wanted to recreate and redeem himself, a monster has been created instead.
Margaret Karam, a Palestinian from the Holy Land, was elected president of the Focolare movement at the movement's General Assembly.
Margaret Karam succeeds Maria Voce, who was in office for 12 years and who succeeded the founder, Chiara Lubich. She was born in Haifa, Israel, in 1962. Margaret Karam is 50 years old, an Arab Catholic. She graduated in Judaism from the Hebrew University of Los Angeles in the U.S. She held various positions of responsibility for the Focolare in Los Angeles and Jerusalem. She has also collaborated in various commissions and organizations for the promotion of dialogue between the three monotheistic religions, such as the Episcopal Commission for Interreligious Dialogue in the Assembly of Ordinary Catholics of the Holy Land and the organization of the Interreligious Coordinating Council in Israel. Since 2014, she has been based at the International Focolare Center in Rocca di Papa, Rome, as a counselor for Italy and Albania and responsible for dialogue between ecclesial movements and new Catholic communities. The Focolare movement was born in Trento, Italy, in 1943. Today, it is present in 180 countries and is one of the most important movements in the Catholic Church. It has 2 million supporters and some 140,000 members. Its spirituality focuses on fostering unity and on identifying with Christ crucified.
Our editorial this week is dedicated to commenting on the World Day of Human Fraternity, promoted by the Pope and the Imam of Al-Azhar.
On Thursday was celebrated the Day of Human Fraternity. Approved by the UN at the request of Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt, the great main authority of Sunni Muslims. The aim is to make us all aware that we are members of the same human species, that we are brothers and that differences should not be resolved with violence. The fact that this important Muslim authority has promoted this initiative together with the Holy Father and has been welcomed by the UN seems important to me. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be having much effect among some of his followers, who continue to kill Christians as much as they can. For example, in Central Africa, as they have done before in Iraq and elsewhere. But that's still something. I repeat, the aim is to make us all aware that we live on the same earth, that we are of the same human species, and that what happens in one corner of the planet affects us all, as has now become clear with the coronavirus pandemic. We cannot continue to ignore each other, and we cannot resolve differences through violence, through the use of force. It seems to me that this is a good purpose. Obviously, this, I think no one is unaware of it, has a risk. It was St. John the 23rd who set in motion something similar, different, but something similar, to launch the ecumenical dialogue. It is more what unites us than what separates us, said the one we then called the good Pope. St. John the 23rd launched the ecumenical dialogue, and there is no doubt that important things have been achieved. I am thinking, for example, of the document on justification signed by Catholics and Lutherans. But ecumenism has by no means reached its goal. On the contrary, despite these achievements, it seems that every day we are further away from the longed-for unity requested by Jesus Christ to the Father in that last discourse on the night of Holy Thursday before leaving for the Garden of Olives. Because ecumenism, just like this request to realize that we are all brothers and sisters, ecumenism focuses on what unites us, but cannot hide what separates us. That is to say, if this request were made at the cost of minimizing the differences, it would be negative. If this petition were to say what unites us is more important and what separates us is not important, it would be negative because what separates us does have importance. I repeat, in ecumenism we have not achieved more precisely because what separates us does have importance. And this is, let us say, a kind of universal ecumenism. It is therefore necessary to insist on what unites us, to emphasize what unites us, to dialogue, to avoid all violence without forgetting what separates us. That is why it seems important to me to look at the figure of Saint Francis of Assisi, who was the first, I believe, to speak explicitly of this universal human fraternity, not only with men. In his Canticle of the Creatures, Saint Francis calls the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the water, the earth, his brother. He even calls death his sister, the death which, as Saint Francis says, will enable him to be definitely united with his Creator. But Saint Francis is not singing a canticle to the creatures, but a canticle of the creatures to their Creator. In fact, a canticle is a praise of God and always begins by saying in each of its verses, "Praise be to you, my Lord. Praise be to you, my Lord, for brother sun. Praise be to you, my Lord, for sister death. May you be thanked for these creatures, my Lord, who are my brothers, these gifts you have given us." Saint Francis did not hide his faith, nor has the Pope hidden it. In Thursday's message, the Pope, who is one of the promoters of this initiative of the World Day of Human Fraternity, the Pope spoke of the fact that we are brothers and sisters because there is a Father. For us, for Saint Francis, fraternity is based on the fatherhood of God. Moreover, the creation on the part of that God, God the Creator of all that exists, because the paternity of God towards a Catholic is not the same as the paternity of God towards the moon, the sun, or water. The Creator God in whom I believe is the one who makes things and people my brothers and sisters, and I must treat them with the respect due to that fraternity. And neither did St. Francis hide this, nor has the Pope hidden it. It would have been a grave error to hide it, and the consequences would have been pernicious. Moreover, St. Francis of Assisi not only didn't hide his faith that the fraternity was based on the fatherhood of God, on the power of God the Creator, but he also sent his religious men to evangelize in Muslim territories with a Muslim majority. In fact, St. Anthony of Padua, who was a monk, a regular monk, an Augustinian monk in Lisbon, his native city, St. Anthony had several friends who had entered with the Franciscans and had been sent to Morocco and who died martyrs there. And then he entered with the Franciscans to take the place of his friends and to go as a missionary and be martyred in North Africa. Afterwards, St. Francis understood his worth and left him in Padua to the great work which he then carried out there. But St. Francis, I repeat, not only did not hide his faith, he did not refuse to evangelize. On the contrary, he came to the Sultan, not to talk about the sun, the moon, and the stars, but he came to the Sultan to evangelize him. He did it with peace. He did it with his wonderful testimony. He did it with arguments. He didn't do it with the violence of the Crusades, but he did it. St. Francis was an evangelizer. that marvelous witness, that example he gave, that holiness that he gave of his whole life, made the Sultan listen to him with pleasure, and although he did not convert, he allowed him to go to the Holy Land, and hence the origin of the Franciscan presence in the holy places. But St. Francis was an evangelizer. He sent his own, even at the risk of being killed, to evangelize the Muslims, which he himself did. So, looking at St. Francis, what we have to do is to work for universal fraternity. That's great. How good it is that we can all feel that we are members of one human family. It is a very positive thing. It is very positive that we have to solve problems and differences with dialogue and not with violence. That is important and positive. We should have no reservations about this universal brotherhood. But that does not mean that we should ever hide what the origin of this brotherhood is for us. We believe in the Almighty God who created the world. We believe that this God is our Father, and we proclaim this. That the others do not have that faith, that the others do not believe in anything, that others will have another faith, like Muslims, and others will have none, like the atheists. Well, we have something in common. It is good that they also feel that they are our brothers and sisters. And it is good that they are willing to dialogue and not to massacre us, to wipe us out, as in fact, I repeat, unfortunately, so many are doing, and not only the Muslims. Well, let us work together for this universal fraternity, but without ever hiding the origin for us of this fraternity. God exists, God is the Creator, God is the Father who made us and who loves us. And at the same time, without hiding, without denying the command of Jesus Christ, the Son of God made man, a very clear command which says, "Go and baptize, go and preach. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, and he who does not will be condemned." Many would like to suppress these words of Christ. They may have to be interpreted, no doubt, but they are there, and they must be heard and respected and practiced. Therefore, universal brotherhood, yes, but without hiding our faith. And, of course, without renouncing to evangelization, fraternity and evangelization, as St. Francis did. Until next week, God willing.
If you wish to be up to date on what is happening in our church, please follow us online at www.catholicosonline.org. We will see you next week, God willing.